Logical, for whatever reason, and to me it's kind of a mystery, I don't know the reason, why awareness goes out of itself unconsciously. But that's what's happening most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this self-realization business, this enlightenment, this awakening is so rare, is because it represents the awareness realizing it is constantly going out of itself and
Mm-hmm.
realizing it doesn't have to, and realizing, realizing, the word realize and the word reality are very close.
Mm-hmm.
It's realizing that reality is about the consciousness. It's not like what is being conscious of. It's not about actually the life. It's the seeing of this life being lived. This is one way I see it: is over the course of our life, we've learned how to identify with so many different things. So imagine it's sort of like a blanket. We have woven one little knot for each area of our life, and now it's identified. We've hooked. That's what I mean by we've tied a knot. We've woven a knot. Okay, I'm identified with money. I'm identified with my marriage. I'm identified with my job, with my car, my health, my whatever. Yes? I'm identified with the laundry. I'm identified with having to do taxes. I'm identified on and on and on. I'm identified with politics, the environment, one of your favorites. It's a big knot, all these things. And so we think then, oh, I have to now go back and untie all those knots. And in a certain way, that's not true. Once you understand this thing about identification, it's almost like there's a master knot in this blanket. And the more you understand that, whenever you realize you're identified, something in you knows how to slip that, pull that thread, and all the knots untie at once, because they're all connected to the master knot, which is consciousness attached to the mind. That's the real identification. It's not all the things that the mind is concerned with. It's that master knot is awareness is attached to this idea of being Peter. And it takes a certain form in the mind, and then the mind has all these things it's hooked to and I caught up in. So what happens in normal psychology is a psychologist will teach the mind, the ego, how to start untying this knot or that knot or that knot
Mm-hmm.
without ever addressing this master knot.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you start to begin to realize that you can in any moment pull that master knot loose in yourself. And it's as though you had fallen off the rock. You were pulled along in the stream. You're now a half a mile away from the rock. Yes, you've gone so far into an anxiety or a worry or a project or a person or whatever. It's not a matter that you now have to turn around and swim back to the rock. The miracle, and it is a miracle of some kind, this awareness. The moment you realize you're half a mile downstream and that you fell off the rock, the moment you realize that, you can be right back on the rock. Now you're back. It's like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. She always had the ability to go home. She just didn't know it. All she had to do was wish to be home. I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. And then she was home. And she
Mm-hmm.
saw the whole thing was a dream. That whole journey to Oz was a dream. It's worth watching that movie just for that. Everything about it is wonderful, but the symbology esoterically is also so powerful. But I'm just saying all of this to say that when you realize you're identified, you can learn to, by virtue of just realizing it, then you're not identified. And you learn how to loosen this rope in yourself. But first, what happens is you realize you're identified, and then your mind tries to start untying knots. And that's at a certain point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we're identified with. What matters is that we are identified.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it doesn't matter what we are aware of, it matters that we're aware. We realize we're aware. That's the master key. And so the same with the identification. What we're identified with is not so important. You said earlier it's so hard, and it's so simple from the perspective of awareness.